Hello, my dear students. Welcome you all to Sri Jain Rank Zone Classes. I am your mentor and your friend for the subject biology, and I will be taking the zoology part, that is animal science. My dear students, today we are going to start with a very important topic of the chapter chemical coordination and integration. The topic is thyroid gland. As you know, thyroid gland secretes thyroxine, which is a very important hormone for both physical and psychological growth. Thyroxine, or the secretions of thyroid gland, along with the secretions of anterior pituitary, especially the growth hormone, works synergistically, works together to make possible changes during growth of an organism. The name thyroid was introduced by Thomas Wharton. It is in 1656. It is derived from Greek word thyros, a shield. Location. This is the largest endocrine gland of our body. It is located in our neck upon the ventral aspect of larynx, sound box or Adam's apple, and a few anterior-most tracheal rings. It is dark brown and H-shaped or butterfly-shaped bilobed gland. The thyroid gland is bilobed. It is butterfly or H-shaped. It is dark brown in color. It is basically situated on the ventral aspect of the larynx, that is sound box or Adam's apple, and few anterior-most tracheal rings. Origin. The gland is endodermal in origin and arises in the embryo as mid-ventral process from the floor of tongue in the pharyngeal region between the first and second pharyngeal pouches. It is endodermal in origin and arises in the embryo as a mid-ventral process from the floor of the tongue in the pharyngeal region between the first and second pharyngeal pouches. Later, the duct-like connection, that is thyroglossal duct, of the process degenerates so that the process is separated from the tongue and become a separate endocrine gland. Probably the gland is homologous to endostyle of lower chordates. Probably the thyroid gland is homologous, same in function, same in origin as the endostyle of lower chordates. So it is endodermal in origin and it arises from the embryo as a midventral process from the floor of the tongue in the pharyngeal region between the first and second pharyngeal pouches. This is known as what? Thyroglossal duct, which further gets separated to separate the endocrine gland from the tongue. Probably the gland is homologous to the endostyle of lower chordates. So you know the location is in the tracheal region, okay? The origin, you know that how it is originated. Structure of thyroid gland. In adult human beings, thyroid gland measures about 5 centimeter in length and 3 centimeter in width. Its average weight is 30 grams. It is somewhat larger in women. In old age, it becomes somewhat smaller as age advances. Its two lobes are connected by a narrower sthmus formed of non-glandular connective tissue. A small conical pyramidal lobe is often found extended forwards from the isthmus. In adult human beings, thyroid gland measures about 5 centimeter in length and 3 centimeter in width. Its average weight is 30 grams. It is somewhat narrower in women, somewhat larger in women. In old age, it becomes somewhat smaller as age advances. Its two lobes are connected by a narrower isthmus formed of a non-glandular connective tissue. Okay, so the isthmus is made up of non-glandular connective tissue. It's like this. So this is the isthmus part. This is the isthmus part. And it is made up of non-glandular connective tissue. Okay. A small conical pyramidal lobe is often found extended forwards from the isthmus. The whole gland is enveloped by a fibrous capsule. It is covered by a fibrous capsule. Thin septae or trabeculae extending inwards from the capsule divide the gland into a number of lobules. Very important, number of lobules. So septae or trabeculae divides the capsule into lobules. Each lobule in turn consists of large number of small and hollow spherical follicles or acini, okay, embedded in small amount of loose connective tissue that form the stroma of the gland. So the whole gland is enveloped by a fibrous capsule. Okay, the septae or trabeculae divide this fibrous capsule towards inside into lobules. These lobules further consist of large number of small and hollow spherical follicles. These spherical follicles are known as what? Acini. They are known as what? Acini. They are embedded in small amount of loose connective tissue that forms the stroma of the gland. Now, the wall of each thyroid consists of a single layered cuboidal epithelium. It consists of a single layered cuboidal epithelium. And it remains suspended from the basal lamina. Remains suspended from the basal lamina. While its cavity is filled with yellowish, jelly-like, and iodinated colloid glycoprotein substance called iodothioglobin. The wall of each thyroid consists of a single layer of cuboidal epithelium. Okay, and this epithelium always remains suspended from a basal lamina, while its cavity is filled with yellowish, jelly-like, and iodinated colloid glycoprotein substance called as iodothioglobulin. Besides containing a dense network of blood capillaries, the stroma, which is made up of connective tissue, contains small clusters of specialized parafollicular or C cells. The latter are remnants of ultimobranchial bodies derived from the fifth pharyngeal pouch in the embryo. So these parafollicular cells are supposed to be the remnants of ultimobranchial bodies. These ultimobranchial bodies are derived from the fifth pharyngeal pouch in the embryo. Okay. So this is about the structure of thyroid gland. Okay. Now, next slide. Synthesis and storage of iodothioglobulin. Synthesis of glycoprotein thyroglobulin occurs continuously in the follicular cells under genic control, means under genetic control. The cells, basically, we have studied in class 12 molecular basis of inheritance, and very importantly, the study of genes which are basically supposed to be done to evaluate, to diagnose any inborn error of metabolism. So they are basically concerned with how to trace the metabolic pathway. If that metabolic pathway is having an enzyme and that enzyme is not working, that enzyme is not secreted in proper amount, then that metabolic pathway is blocked. Okay, so it is like A in the presence of enzyme E1 converts into B, B in the presence of enzyme E2 converts into C, C in the presence of enzyme E3 converts into D, like this. If suppose E2 is blocked by some inhibitor, so B will not be converted into C. When B will not be converted into C, so B will accumulate because A is forming B. So A will continuously start forming the B. It will be when the concentrations of B will rise in blood. Now these high concentrations of B may become pathologic, may become a condition of disease, may be symptomatic, depending upon the levels of toxicity B is causing. Okay, So this enzyme E2 is basically coded by a gene. If that gene is mutated, the enzyme is absent or enzyme is non-functional. That is why it is mentioned that this formation of thyroxine is a genetic control process, and especially tyrosine metabolic pathway is required. Tyrosine metabolic pathway. The cells keep excluding thyroglobulin in follicular cavity by exocytosis. By exocytosis. So synthesis of glycoprotein thyroglobulin occurs continuously in follicular cells under genetic control. The cells keeping excluding thyroglobulin in the follicular cavity of by exocytosis. Each molecule of thyroglobulin contains about 500 amino acid monomers, of which 123 monomers are of tyrosine at fixed places. Soon as the molecules of iodine and thyroglobulin come out of the follicular cells, they interact in such a way that 15 tyrosine monomers of each thyroglobulin molecule at fixed places becomes iodo. So each molecule of thyroglobulin contains about 500 amino acid monomers, of which 123 monomers are of tyrosine at fixed places. Soon as the molecules of iodine and thyroglobulin come out of the follicular cells, they interact in such a way that 15 tyrosine monomers gets iodonated. Certain tyrosine monomers bind with single atoms of iodine, forms monoiodotyrosine. Other tyrosine monomers bind with the atoms of iodine, forming diiodotyrosine. This is called organification of thyroglobulin. Okay, there are some members which are combining with the one atom of iodine, that is monoiodotyrosine. If they are combining with two atoms of iodine, then diiodotyrosine. This combination of a protein with a inorganic factor, okay, or we can say this combination of iodine with a protein, which is the organic compound, is known as what? Organification of thyroglobulin. Molecules of iodothioglobulin keep accumulating in the follicular cavity, forming a jelly-like colloid. They form a jelly-like colloid. Within the colloid, molecules of iodothioglobulin undergo conformational changes and may even interact with each other. These results in the coupling of most of the iodonated tyrosine monomers in pairs. In, for example, diiodotyrosine combines with monoiodotyrosine to form triiodotyrosine. Okay, like this. Or diiodotyrosine combines with diiodotyrosine to form tetraiodotyrosine, like that. Okay. This results in the coupling of most of the iodinated tyrosine monomer in pairs. This coupling may occur between iodinated tyrosine monomers of the same or different types. Okay, so this is the synthesis and storage of iodothioglobulin. Iodothioglobulin is basically, produced by follicular cells through genes, and it comes out into the follicular cavity by exocytosis. When it comes out in the follicular cavity, it meets iodine and gets organification. Okay. Each molecule of thyroglobulin consists of 500 amino acid monomers, out of which 123 monomers are fixed for tyrosine. So molecules of monoiodotyrosine, diiodotyrosine, triiodotyrosine, and tetraiodotyrosine. Molecules of iodothioglobulin, it results in the formation of several groups of complexes of tetraiodothyronine, that is T4. And T4 is known as what? Thyroxine. T4 is known as what? Thyroxine. And some of triiodothyronine T3 in the colloid. Each T4 complex obviously contains two tyrosine monomers and four atoms of iodine, whereas each triiodothyronine complex contains two tyrosine monomers and three atoms of iodine. T4 and T3 are actually the iodonated hormones secreted by thyroid. Obviously, the colloid act as a reservoir of these hormones. Colloid basically act as a reservoir of these hormones. So this is about the formation of molecule of T3, molecule of T4, tetraiodothyronine and triiodothyronine. The daily output of thyroid gland is about 80 grams, that is 0.08 milligrams of T4, and about 4 grams of T3. 4 grams of T3 and 0.08 milligrams of T4. Since, however, T3 is several times more potent, most of the T4 molecules also change into T3 molecules by losing one iodine atom as these diffuse from blood into extracellular. This deiodination of T4 is maximum in the liver. Very important. The daily output of thyroid gland is about 80 grams. Okay, that is 0.08 milligrams of T4 and 4 grams of T3. However, T3 is several times more potent, more functionable, okay, more active than T4 molecules. Then T4 molecules also change into T3 by loosening or deiodination. Okay, this deiodination occurs maximum in liver. Okay, as described in the preceding account, the rate of thyroid secretion is controlled by pituitary gland. Amount of the release of these T3 and T4 are controlled by pituitary gland. It is controlled by pituitary gland, very importantly. Okay, and the hypothalamus of brain respectively under direct and indirect negative feedback regulation. Rate of thyroid secretion increases during winters and in pregnant women. Very important because this time there is a requirement of high BMR, metabolic rate. Okay, now anatomy of thyroid gland. You can see it is located in the tracheal region, just above the initial of the tracheal wings. Okay, these are thyroid nodules, which are present thyroid nodules. Okay, this is hyoid bone. This is thyroid cartilage. This is thyroid cartilage. Thyroid cartilage. This is hyoid bone. Okay, you can see the thyrocervical trunk. It is not of your use trachea. This is trachea. Okay. So in this picture, you need not to remember all these names of the veins, cartilages. I mean, they are not required. Okay. Specifically, we are not going to be asked questions from this deep anatomy. Okay. Superficial anatomy is okay. One thing I just want to tell you is that you can see that the gland is having two lobes, this lobe and this lobe, and they are connected via isthmus. This isthmus is having this projection. Okay, we were talking in the previous slide, right? Iodides and iodine. An adult human body contains about 5 to 6 milligram of iodine. Very important, and most of it is found in thyroid. Thus, the thyroid is a reservoir of iodine. For secreting the iodinated hormones in the normal amounts, the thyroid daily utilizes about 150 micrograms, 0.15 milligram of iodine. Obviously, a person must daily take about 150 gram of iodine from the food. We can obtain this from dairy products, drinking water, seafood. If obtained more than this, we excrete the excess iodine in urine. So, adult human body contains around 5 to 6 milligram of iodine, and most of it is found in thyroid gland. The thyroid is a reservoir of iodine for secreting the iodinated hormones in normal amounts. The thyroid daily utilizes about 150 micrograms, that is 0.15 milligrams of iodine. Obviously, a person must daily obtain 150 milligrams of iodine from the food. We can obtain this from dairy products, drinking water, and seafood. Iodine of food is absorbed and circulated in the blood in the form of iodide ions, I minus. Follicular cells of thyroid are very actively obtain these ions from the blood by active transport. Follicular cells, they basically absorb these iodide ions by active transport from the blood. That is why the concentration of iodide ions in these cells normally remains about 50 to 250 times higher than blood. Obviously, they are absorbing more and more amount of iodide ions from blood, so the concentration will be automatically be high. These cells possesses peroxidase enzyme in abundance. They have peroxidase enzyme in abundance. Peroxidase continuously oxidize iodide ions into molecular iodine. Iodide Iodine is then released by follicular cells into follicular cavity. Okay, so first they are going to absorb I minus ions, then peroxidase enzyme basically is going to convert I minus into I2 so that they can be secreted into follicular cavity. Okay, the normal human body concentration of iodine is 5 to 6 milligram. Okay, and thyroid act as a reservoir for it. Okay, synthesis of thyroid hormones. You can see the synthesis of thyroid hormone. Thyroglobulin is synthesized and discharged in the follicle lumen. Okay. Then tapping or active uptake of iodide ions I minus. Then oxidation, active formation of iodine molecule. Okay. Iodine enters the follicle lumen where it is attached to tyrosine, the colloid forming DIT and MIT. You can see the molecules they are attaching. Thyroglobulin colloid. Iodinated tyrosines are linked together to form T3 and T4. Thyroglobulin colloid is endocytosed and combined with the lysosome. Lysosomal enzymes cleave T4 and T3 from thyroglobulin colloid and hormones diffuse from follicle cell into the bloodstream to peripheral tissues. They release iodide ions in the blood. It again becomes a part of the cycle. So this is what the synthesis of thyroid hormones. Okay, and how they are, how thyroglobulin is produced in the follicular lumen. Okay, then it combines with the iodine. Okay, uh, this iodine makes it into MIT and DIT, which further undergoes coupling reaction to form T3 and T4. Then they are cytosed by a lysosome. Okay, then they are released into the blood. Okay, so this is the synthesis of thyroid hormones. Now, one thing I should make that when we talk about the negative or positive feedback, like for example, hypothalamus, it basically releases thyrotropin releasing hormone, okay, which initiates pituitary. Pituitary releases TSH, which further initiates thyroid gland, and thyroid gland, this is thyroid stimulating hormone, thyroid gland releases T3 and T4. So if T3 and T4 levels are already high, they are going to give a negative feedback. If they are low, they are going to give a positive feedback. Understood? Okay. Hormones of thyroid. Now, very important. Hormones and the diseases related to the hormones of thyroid gland. Thyroid gland secretes two iodinated hormones, thyroxine T4 and triiodothyronine T3, and one non-iodinated hormone, thyrocalcitonin. Okay, thyrocalcitonin is released by parafollicular cells, also known as C cells. Okay, secretion of thyroid gland is regulated by thyroid stimulating hormone of anterior pituitary lobe. Thyroxine was first isolated by Kocher in 1914 but was first crystallized by Kendall in 1919. Its molecular structure was given by Harrington and Berger in 1927. They also synthesized thyroxine. Thyroid gland secretes two iodinated hormones. One is the thyroxine T4, another one is triiodothyronine T3, and one non-iodinated hormone, thyrocalcitonin. Secretion of thyroid gland is regulated by thyroid stimulating hormone of anterior lobe of the pituitary. Thyroxine was first isolated by Kocher and Berger in 19, first crystallized isolated by Kocher in 1914 and first crystallized by Kendall in 1919. Its molecular structure was given by Harrington and Berger in 1927. They are also synthesized hormone. Okay, they also synthesize the thyroxine hormone. Thyroxine. It is an iodine containing 6% iodine is present in thyroxine, amine hormone, very important, which is derived from tyrosine amino acid. Chemically, thyroxine is tetraiodothyronine, though also found as triiodothyronine. Okay. Secretion of thyroxine is inversely proportional to the blood level of thyroxine feedback mechanism. These hormones perform the following functions. They perform the following functions. They regulate the basal metabolic rate of the body as control rate of cell respiration and energy production. BMR or the basal metabolic rate basically controls the rate of cellular respiration and energy production. Okay, in mitochondria and hence known as the tempo of life. So these control physical, mental, sexual growth of body. It is called calirogen effect. Thyroid hormone or the thyroxine basically regulate the basal metabolic rate BMR of the body, as BMR is the control rate of cellular respiration and energy production in mitochondria, hence known as tempo of life. So these control physical, mental, sexual growth of body. It is called calorogenic effect. Calorogenic effect. In 1912, Nash discovered the metamorphosis in Fred's tadpole begins only when adequate amount of thyroxine is secreted by the thyroid of tadpole. It was also found that hyposecretion of thyroxine retards and hypersecretion enhances the rate of metamorphosis. Okay. In 1912, Nash discovered the metamorphosis in frog's tadpole begins only when the adequate amount of thyroxine is secreted by thyroid of the tadpole. It was also found that hyposecretion of thyroxine retards and hypersecretion enhances the rate of metamorphosis. In the hilly tracts of North America, from whose soil all iodine has been washed away by rainwater. In the hilly tracts of North America, the iodine is washed basically, the minerals get leached because of the rainwater. The tadpoles of Ambiostoma probably never metamorphose. Okay, therefore, these tadpoles grow to a large size and attain sexual maturity. They become pedogenetic larvae. Very important. So, Ambiostoma, because of this lack of iodine, they become pedogenetic larvae. Okay, as they are not converted into the adult frog. Okay, pedogenetic larva or pedogenesis. This process is known pedogenesis. This phenomenon is known as pedogenesis. Pedogenetic larva of Ambiostoma is called exolotl larva. Exolotl larva. Addition of thyroxine or iodine in pond water naturally induces and enhances metamorphosis in the tadpoles. Okay, so this is a very important fact you should remember. Okay, the process known as what pedogenesis. The pedogenetic larvae of Ambiostoma are called exolotl larvae. Addition of thyroxine or iodine in pond water naturally induces and enhances metamorphosis of the tadpoles. Functions of osmoregulation and regulation of molting have been ascribed to these thyroid hormones in cold-blooded vertebrates like fishes, amphibians, and reptiles. So thyroxine, one of the most important or the other function of thyroxine is also that it helps in the osmoregulation. It helps in the regulation of molting. Okay, have been ascribed to these thyroid hormones in especially cold-blooded vertebrates like fishes, amphibians, and reptiles. Okay. Now, next function is these control working by renal tubules of kidneys, so control urine output. The thyroxine hormone also helps to control the urine output because it helps to maintain the BMR It means it helps to maintain the amount of production of metabolic waste. And this amount of production of metabolic waste, ultimately it is going to uh, you know uh, be make a workload on the kidney tubules or the renal tubules, and that is why the urine output can be manipulated. So they help in to control the working of renal tubules. They help to control the working of renal tubules of kidneys, so control urine output. These help in homeothermy in warm-blooded animals. Very important. So this hormone helps to maintain the internal constant environment. Okay, so they help in homeothermy in warm-blooded animals to maintain the internal environment constant. Now, next is synthesis of additional sodium potassium pump in the presence of sodium potassium ATPase enzyme, which then use more ATP, more heat is given off, and body temperature rises. This phenomenon is called calorogenic effect of thyroid hormone and thus maintain normal body temperature. Synthesis of additional sodium potassium pump helps to maintain the muscular activity, helps to maintain the activity of nerves, helps to maintain the activity of nervous system, ultimately helps to maintain the activity of secretions of neurotransmitters to control the neuromuscular junctions. It means it helps to maintain the physical activity of body. So they use more ATP, then more amount of heat is given off, and the body temperature raises, body temperature increases. And that is why it is known as what? Calorogenic effect, because it is producing heat, it is producing calories. That is why it is known as what? Calorogenic effect. This effect is basically done to maintain the normal body temperature as our internal environment remains constant. We are talking about the homeostatic conditions, then our internal environment should remain constant, and that is why the body temperature should be maintained anyhow. Okay, so these are the possible functions of, or the known functions of, thyroxine hormone. Okay, so the first is and the foremost is the control of BMR, and basically because of the controlling of BMR, because of the regulation of basal metabolic rate, it is going to control all other functions. Okay, now next is thyrocalcitonin. Thyrocalcitonin is secreted by parafollicular cells. It is secreted by parafollicular cells. It is a long peptide hormone secreted by parafollicular cells of thyroid, that is C cells. Its secretion is regulated by increased plasma level of calcium, very important, by feedback mechanism. So it helps to increase blood calcium levels. Thyrocalcitonin lower calcium level in blood to normal by increasing calcium deposition in the when sorry blood calcium levels are maintained or regulated, not increased, maintained or regulated. So thyrocalcitonin secreted from parafollicular cells. It helps to regulate the increased plasma level of calcium, okay, by diverging or by making the blood calcium, free calcium to deposit on the bones. So it basically increase the calcium deposition of bones, so checks osteoporosis. So it is known as what? Anti-osteoporotic. And stimulates excretion of calcium in urine, and stimulates excretion of calcium in urine, so that anyhow the blood calcium level can be maintained. See, the blood calcium level can be maintained by two ways, either by excreting through urine, and the second one by making it deposited more and more on the bone. Okay, it prevent hypercalcemia, high amounts of calcium in blood, decreasing reabsorption of calcium from urine. It helps to excrete more urine without getting it reabsorbed more from urinary tubules, so increasing excretion of calcium. So it prevents hypercalcemia. So it prevents hypercalcemia. This is the function of thyrocalcitonin, which is secreted from parafollicular cells. Okay. In the structure of thyroid gland, when we cut a TS or transverse section, you can see these are the follicular cells. This is the follicular antrum or colloid. Colloid follicular cells. Between these follicular cells, we have a group of cells known as what? Parafollicular cells, which are arranged in a form of colonies. They are known as what? C cells. They are known as what? C cells or parafollicular cells. Okay, understood? Next slide. Just a minute. This is thyrocalcitonin, thyroid gland. It secretes, parafollicular cells secrete calcitonin. It inhibits the calcium reabsorption in the kidney. Okay, thus it stimulates the excretion of kidney outside of the body. Okay, so it promotes the deposition of calcium in the bones, inhibits osteoclastic activity, bone resorbing activity, decreases bone reabsorbing activity. Okay, and increasing bone deposition activity. Inhibits calcium ions absorption via the intestine. Very important. It inhibits calcium absorption by intestine, inhibits calcium reabsorption by kidney tubules, lower blood calcium levels. Okay, lower blood calcium levels. So it helps to check blood calcium levels. It prevents calcification of soft tissues. It prevents the formation of renal stone. Okay, also prevents formation of renal stone. Okay, irregularities of thyroid gland, hypothyroidism, decreased secretion of thyroxine from thyroid gland. It leads to the following diseases. First is cretinism. It is the disease of infants called cretins. Disease of infants known as what? Cretins. It is characterized by decreased basal metabolic rate 50% than normal, stunted growth, retarded mental development, low intelligent quotient, low IQ, delayed puberty. Okay, means the upcoming of sexual characters, secondary sexual characters gets delayed. Decrease body temperature goes down, decrease body temperature. Okay, heart rate decreases bradycardia, pulse rate decreases, blood pressure decreases, hypotension, and cardiac output also decreases. It decreases body temperature, okay, hypothermia, it decreases heart rate, bradycardia, it decreases pulse rate, it decreases blood pressure, hypotension, and decreases our cardiac output. It also reduced the urinary output. Decreased sugar level in blood, it decreases the sugar level in blood. Pigeon's chest is a very important characteristic. Pigeon chest bulging forward in the sternal region comes outside. Cretinism can be congenital, absence of thyroid due to the genetic defect, okay, or endemic, absence of iodine in diet. It can be corrected by thyroxine administration. Cretinism, it can be congenital because of absence of thyroid gland, okay, due to genetic defect, and or endemic because of the absence of iodine in diet. It can be corrected by thyroxine administration. It can be corrected by thyroxine administration. Cretinism and myxedema. Myxedema is found in adults and cretinism in infants. Conditions of severely stunted physical and mental growth. Patients is dwarf with severe mental defect, coarse and dry skin, deficient hair and teeth, retarded skeletal growth, reduced basal metabolic rate. Myxedema, thinning of hair, hair loss, loss of eyebrows, especially lateral regions, enlarged thyroid gland, puffy face. But and rest all characters I've already told you: bradycardia, poor appetite, infertile, heavy menstruation, carpal tunnel syndrome. Carpal tunnel syndrome is basically, we can say, weakness or weaken radial muscles or neuritic pain, a very severe nerve pain in the lower regions of forelimbs. Okay, hypothermia, body temperature get decreases, cool extremities and swelling of the limbs, constipation, myxedema, thickened and non-pitting edema of skin, thickened and non-pitting. Pitting edema is seen in renal failures. Okay, so these all are the different characteristics of myxedema and cretinism. Myxedema, it occurs due to the deficiency of thyroxine in adults like cretinism. It also show low BMR, about 30 to 40%. Okay, low body temperature, reduced heart rate, reduced pulse rate, reduced blood pressure, reduced cardiac output, low sugar, low iodine level in blood. But the peculiar feature of myxedema is that face and hands become swollen due to the deposition of albuminous myxomatous tissue. Very important. Because of the albuminous myxomatous tissue, it undergoes what? Non-pitting edema. Non-pitting edema. It can also be corrected by thyroxine administration. Endemic or simple goiter or colloid goiter, it occurs due to the deficiency of iodine in drinking water. It is non-genetic. That is why it is known as what? Sporadic, or sporadic goiter is a genetic disease. Okay, that is why it is known as what? Colloid goiter or a simple goiter. So endemic goiter or the colloid goiter or simple goiter, it is a non-genetic goiter. It occurs due to the deficiency of iodine in drinking water. It is characterized by enlargement of thyroid gland. It is basically characterized by enlargement of thyroid gland due to the increase in number and size of acinar cells. Due to the increase in number and size of acinar cells, okay, the size of the thyroid gland gets enlarged, increases. It is more common in people of hilly regions. It is more common in the peoples of hilly regions. To prevent goiter, the table salt is being iodized these days. Okay. Hashimoto's disease. It is called autoimmune thyroiditis, very important, autoimmune thyroiditis, and occurs due to age factor. And occurs due to age factor. Maybe it can be precipitated because of injury or a surgical intervention, wrong treatment, or injection of thyroid or injection in the thyroid gland, causing hyposecretion of thyroxine. When thyroxine secretion falls up to minimal limit, the antibodies are formed which destroy the thyroid gland. It is also called the autoimmune thyroiditis and occurs due to the age factor. Okay, it may be because of injury during surgery or wrong treatment. Okay, it may be due to the injection in the thyroid gland causing hyposecretion of thyroxine. When thyroxine secretion falls up to minimal limit, the antibodies are formed which destroy the thyroid gland. This is Hashimoto's disease. Characteristic signs are enlargement of the tongue, memory lapses, okay, pale and dry skin, a goiter, a puffy face, brittle nails, and hair loss. Nails will become brittle, puffy face, hair loss, excessive or prolonged menstrual bleeding, joint pains and stiffness, muscle weakness, tenderness and stiffness, constipation, fatigue, sluggishness, increased sensitivity to cold, unexplained weight gain, enlargement and inflamed of underactive thyroid goiter. Okay, so it is basically Hashimoto's disease or autoimmune thyroiditis. Okay, this is simple goiter. Okay, hypersecretion of thyroid hormones, hyperthyroidism, or thyrotoxicosis. This may also be a genetic defect, but usually it is provided by chronic infections like influenza, rheumatic fever, rheumatism, tonsillitis, tuberculosis, measles, whooping cough, pregnancy, intake of large doses of iodine, overeating. It results into a considerable increase in glucose and oxygen consumption by cells and the rate of oxidative metabolism in the mitochondria. Consequently, the BMR may increase several folds hypermetabolism. The cells fail to store all catabolic energy into ATP. Consequently, extra energy is liberated as heat. Instead of causing growth of body, this energy thus overheats the body, causing nervous tension, excitement, restlessness, and anxiety. Muscular weakness, thyrotoxic myopathy, fatigue, tremors, high temperature, palpitation of the heart, copious sweating, tremendous sweating. Palpitation of heart means excessive beating of the heart. Okay, excessive beating, or the heartbeat increases. Okay, diarrhea, insomnia, loss of sleep, trembling of limbs, shaking of the hands and fingers, body, weight loss, heat intolerance. Person cannot tolerate heat, warm and soft skin, increased appetite. So these all are the features of hypersecretion of thyroid hormones or thyrotoxicosis or hyperthyroidism. Under this sodium pump theory of thermogenesis is given by Edelman to make this hypersecretion of thyroid hormones understandable to us. Because of this sodium pump theory of thermogenesis, Edelman has recently he discovered the facts that in 1974 he hypothesized that overheating of the body in hyperthyroidism is not because cells fail to trap the excessive catabolic energy in ATP, but because the excessive ATP formed in this condition is utilized in considerably accelerating the sodium potassium pump, releasing more heat that overheats the body. So, according to Edelman, the sodium pump theory of thermogenesis says that it is not because of cell is not capable to store this catabolic, more or excessive catabolic energy in the form of ATP, but because of more temperature, high temperature. Okay, the sodium potassium pumps they get accelerated to produce more and more amount of heat. Okay. Now, because of hypersecretion, simple goiter, hyperthyroidism may be simply because of overactivity of cells of normal gland or because of enlargement of the thyroid causing goiter. So there are two types of goiter. One is endophthalmic goiter. Endophthalmic goiter is because of the goiter condition of hypothyroidism, and exophthalmic goiter, hyperthyroidism. Hypothyroidism, endophthalmic goiter is a goiter in which the levels of iodine decreases, which further decreases the levels of thyroxine, and that is why the size of the gland increases. Okay. In hypothyroidism, the activity of normal gland increases, and as the activity of normal gland increases, its size also increases. Exophthalmic goiter. Such a goiter is called exophthalmic goiter because it is usually accompanied by some asymmetrical protrusion, exophthalmos, bulging of eyes, bulging of eyeballs, imparting an angry, frightened, or staring look to the patient. Okay. Protrusion of eyeballs is due to accumulation of mucus in the eye orbits. Such a goiter is called exophthalmic goiter. It is usually accompanied by some asymmetrical protrusion or exophthalmos of the eyeballs, imparting an angry, frightened, or staring look to the patient. Protrusion of eyeballs is due to the accumulation of mucus in eye orbits. Graves' disease or Basedow's disease. Enlargement of the gland is usually due to the diffused growth. Very important. Enlargement of the gland in Graves' disease is due to the diffused growth, and this exophthalmic goiter is also being given the name Graves' disease or Basedow's disease. Okay. Plummer's disease or toxic adenoma. It is due to the formation of one or more hypersecretory nodules. Okay. It is also known as nodular hyperplasia of thyroid. It is also known as nodular hyperplasia. Although it is a benign condition, it is not malignant, but may be malignant. Hyperplasia of thyroid. Okay, benign nodular hyperplasia. So Plummer's disease or toxic adenoma is due to the formation of one or more hypersecretory nodules. Plummer's disease or toxic adenoma is the enlargement of the gland in nodular hyperplasia of the thyroid. So Graves' disease, Basedow's disease, Graves of Basedow, it's same. Plummer's disease or toxic adenoma, exothermic goiter, they are cause of hypersecretion. Thyrotoxicosis is also hypersecretion. Okay, this is Graves' disease. You can see the eyes. It is look like it is a villain of a horror movie. Okay, symptoms of hyperthyroidism: fatigue or muscular weakness, probable sleeping problematic sleeping. Okay, insomnia, irregular heartbeat, arrhythmia, rapid heartbeat, tachycardia, unintentional weight loss, nervousness or irritability, increased sensitivity to heat, mood swings, hand tremors, diarrhea or more frequent bowel movements, irregular menstruation, goiter, skin thickening, increased hair loss, changes in the menstrual cycle, bulging of eyes, redness in the palm, brittle nails, muscle twitching, and excessive sweating. So these all are hypothyroidic, symptoms. So my dear students, we have completed, I think we have completed the thyroid gland. In the next 10, I will be starting with the parathyroid gland. Please stay safe, stay connected, go through the videos again and again to have a better connect. Till then, bye-bye, take care, stay safe, stay healthy.